Germany is secretly supplying Ukraine with weapons that it supposedly wasn't ready to provide for at least another 6 months. Meanwhile, in the media space, there was a common belief that Europeans would only be able to supply Ukraine with air defense systems in 6 to 8 months. Germany has quietly already supplied Ukraine with 4 air defense systems, 3 Patriots and 1 infrared imaging system, tail thrust vector controlled. In addition, Germany is preparing 2 more air defense systems for delivery. And all this is part of that very new arms supply scheme that Donald Trump approved together with the Europeans. However, that wasn't everything. Germany decided to supply Ukraine with unnamed weapons that are, quote, capable of affecting Russian territory. And this is a statement from the German Ministry of Foreign Affairs. But that's still not all. I'm Alexei Pechi, it's July 26th. Let's discuss this topic. There's a lot of insider and hidden information there. But before we start, I ask you to subscribe to this channel, like the video, leave any comment, and be sure to subscribe to my Telegram channel. The link is in this video's description. Let's go through everything step by step. Back on July 24th, Trump stated that the United States and the European Union had reached an agreement under which Europe would pay America 100% of the cost of all weapons and equipment. It will be distributed, and most of it will be sent specifically to Ukraine. According to him, the United States will send weapons to the European Union, and then the member countries of the bloc will distribute them themselves, sending most of them specifically to the Ukrainian military. Quote, they are going to spend this money in the United States on our defense companies, and we are going to send them weapons, and they will distribute them. Honestly, that's how it should have been 3 years ago. But after that statement, something didn't add up here. Because earlier, German media, citing the German government, reported that Germany, which was lobbying for Europeans to buy American weapons for Ukraine, stated that it would only be ready to transfer Patriot air defense systems in 6 to 8 months. Germany requires new systems from the United States before transferring them to Ukraine. They won't provide their own without Washington's guarantees. But don't jump to conclusions. Against this backdrop, the German government decided to shift the focus of attention in the information space. In particular, the Germans immediately started talking about how, while Ukraine is waiting for American air defense systems, they are already delivering 7 German infrared imaging system tail thrust vector-controlled air defense systems to Ukraine. And then they add to the shipment, preparing another such system. Ukrainian ambassador to Germany, Alexei Markeyev, first made this statement about the Bundeswehr's decision. The ambassador also added that Berlin has already supplied Kyiv with more than 60 Gepard self-propelled anti-aircraft guns. They have demonstrated exceptional effectiveness in combating Russian attack drones. In addition, Markeyev mentioned that Germany has delivered an anti-aircraft artillery system that is showing good results in the hands of the Ukrainian armed forces. According to him, Kyiv and Berlin already have initial developments for the joint production of additional air defense systems. The Germans themselves stated that they plan to integrate artificial intelligence into the German infrared imaging system, tail thrust vector-controlled surface-to-air missile system. Thus, more deliveries of these systems to Ukraine are expected for combat testing. The mechanism will work approximately as follows. German manufacturing companies will send their weapons to Ukraine and conduct online training on their use and application. And it will be tested by Ukrainian military personnel who will compile and send reports. But for now, everyone was talking about the delivery of the 8th infrared imaging system tail thrust vector controlled system, and all the attention was focused in that direction. The publication reports that just a few days after July 13, when President Donald Trump announced a $10 billion aid package for Ukraine, the first of the promised air defense systems arrived in Ukraine with a set of missiles. And next I will quote the Telegraph. By the end of that week, thanks to an agreement with Germany, the Patriot surface-to-air missile system and other interceptor missiles had already arrived in Ukraine. The Pentagon and the White House used this move to try to persuade European countries to take the risk of sending their existing stockpiles to Kyiv while waiting for America to replenish them. However, for some countries, replacing their Patriot missiles before next year will be challenging. And now today on July 26th, while all this information fog has not yet cleared, The Washington Post reports that Germany has already delivered 3 Patriot systems to Ukraine as part of the new aid scheme for Ukraine proposed by the United States. When American weapons for the Ukrainian armed forces are paid for by European countries, it is noted that overall Ukraine hopes to receive 10 Patriot systems under this new scheme. At the meeting of Ukraine's allies on Monday this week, German Defense Minister Boris Pistorius, without going into details, stated that Germany would facilitate providing assistance to Ukraine. 5 Patriot systems, and the journalist's interlocutors reported that 3 systems have already been delivered, and Germany is currently negotiating with the Americans about sending 1 more. The remaining Patriot batteries may be obtained from outside NATO. Meanwhile, the Swiss Ministry of Defense states that the 5 Patriot systems the country ordered from the American manufacturer will be redirected by the United States specifically to Ukraine, and the Swiss will receive their ordered systems later. Here's an interesting point, because the Germans expected to receive these 5 systems in exchange for the ones they're sending to Ukraine. But most likely the arrangement has changed, and now the Germans will have to wait a little longer. Besides air defense systems, Ukraine is expected to receive radars, electronic warfare systems, drone interceptors, and artillery under this arrangement. It is also reported that this week the defense ministers of European countries held a virtual meeting with United States Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth and the Supreme Allied Commander Europe, General Alexis Grinkevich, to discuss all these plans. In addition, the discussion about providing Ukraine with long-range missiles is ongoing. Germany has already stated that it will not supply Taurus cruise missiles, and as NATO diplomats write, they do not rule out the possibility that the United States of America may provide their own missiles. Although Trump has also already stated that he does not seek to do this. Nevertheless, despite all the public statements from the White House, this week the United States government is granting permission for the sale of 2 large packages of military equipment to Ukraine. The first package, worth more than $300 million, provides for the sale of Hawk Phase 3 anti-aircraft missile systems, support systems, and related equipment, as well as maintenance for Bradley infantry fighting vehicles. The second package, also exceeding $300 million, involves services and spare parts for Ukrainian artillery systems. The package, worth over $300 million, includes services and spare parts for Ukrainian artillery systems and American-made air defense systems. But the most mysterious statement turned out to be the statement by the German Foreign Minister, Johann Wadephul. And next, I will quote his words about long-range missiles for the armed forces of Ukraine. But before that, I urge you to pay attention to how the Germans created this informational smokescreen in order to deliver the first 3 Patriot systems to Ukraine. While publicly everyone around was saying that they wouldn't be able to do this anytime soon, at least not in the next 6 months. So Wadephul stated that Ukraine will soon be able to strike Russian territory. The minister noted that supplying Ukraine with new weapons is not a financial issue, but a matter of availability and the production capabilities of Ukrainian and European arms factories. He added that European partners are working specifically on solving this issue. The quote, "Ukraine has the right to defend itself from attacks. It will also have the ability to strike on Russian territory. But we will not disclose to the Russian dictator Vladimir Putin which weapon systems we are supplying to Ukraine." And also it's interesting how Wadephul noted that he simply stopped even trying to understand the supposed logic behind dictator Putin's attacks on Ukraine. He will only stop when he realizes that his plan isn't working, said the German minister. So, given the Germans' quiet transfer of Patriot systems, it is likely that we will only learn about the delivery of weapons that allow Ukraine to strike Russian territory after the fact. So I'll leave it at that. Share your opinions and conclusions in the comments below this episode. Subscribe to the channel, hit the bell, and don't forget to like the video. If you want to support the work of this channel, you can do so financially by donating through the links and details in the description of this video. That's all for now. Take care. Goodbye, everyone. Subtitles created by